All right, guys, welcome to this week's episode of Live Younger Longer. I'm super excited because I have a dear friend, but also a business associate with me. And we're on the cusp of something just magical. We're going to be able to launch into the marketplace to really help people exude what this podcast is in this community we're building is really all about, like getting the most years or most life out of every year that you have on this earth. It really living life to your fullest, optimizing yourself to as much as you could possibly do, not only on a physical level, but also on a financial level, a faith level. I mean, even a business level, because, as you age, sadly, you could be in great shape, but if you're broke, it's going to affect your, how you live life and how you age. Like it's going to make a huge difference in some of the options that you have as you go older and live life. So I want to introduce a dear friend of mine to the community, Steve Hatchett. Man, he's a guy I actually met through our company. He's one of the gurus and pioneers and just geniuses behind this little device right here that we are super excited to be launching into the world, our new Prism device. So, Steve, if you would, man, if you want to just kind of give a quick background of where you're coming from, and then we'll kind of go into some of the conversations we're having kind of before the show, and just introduce everybody to not only this technology, but how can it enhance and optimize so many areas of your life.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks for having me on, and it's great to be with you. We've been talking about this for a little bit now, so I'm glad we were able to put this on the calendar. And here we are going into the holidays, and I don't want to date this, but I just want you to know how much I appreciate you and your family and what you guys are doing and how you're spreading the word of how to help people get better. It's so important. This world is filled with all sorts of challenges, but there's also so many great things going on. And that's why I've been doing this for now almost 33 years. I started this when I was a sophomore in college. Didn't know anything about nutrition. My heavens, I was trying to find as much sugar as I could get. I was a typical college student, right? I was ramen noodles. I didn't have a whole lot of money. I didn't come from money. I didn't have a whole lot, So for me, I played sports. That's where I kind of thought about, health and well-being was more, how do I get stronger, faster, bigger? That was my whole thought process. It wasn't about, the background behind it and so forth. And so that was the minimal amount of information I had. And then I go into, if you will, college and I start, trying to compete at a high level and realize, man, there's athletes and then there's athletes, right?
Right.
So, I mean, it's a whole different level at the college, and then you go pro. It's just like, forget it. It's just amazing. But when you realize, I've been doing this for 33 years, started with, development and manufacturing of products, way back in 1992. And, really just, it was unique. It was fortuitous. I met a business associate, now a business associate. Back then it was a friend, and their father actually was at a Christmas gathering of all things. And I showed him a pitch I had for a presentation for sustainability. And I was focusing on packaging at the time because I was really thinking that the world needed to look at it. And I call it recycling. Of course, we don't call it sustainability back then.
Right.
And he reviewed it and said, "This is fantastic. I love it, but I don't think it's ready yet. And you need to think about things like nutrition and wellness." And I'm starting a manufacturing facility that's going to help a company called New Skin and a few other companies as a co-manufacturer. And I need to set up a manufacturing facility. Would you be willing to help me set that up in the summertime of 1992? So this is 1991 that I actually did the presentation. And I said, sure. I had no idea that would set the stage for the rest of my life.
Right.
Here I was, very first opportunity to get into this industry, and I've been doing it for 33 years. So love it.
That's awesome, man. And I think that's what's so cool. We talked about this a little bit, and this is what I love, even though you are one of our chief officers with the company, but also like you're just so, authenticity in today's world is, I think, missing because people, I did an episode a couple of weeks ago, and it was titled "If I Was the Devil," right? And I literally asked Chat GPT, I was like, if I was the devil, or I said, if you were the devil, how would you stop someone from being successful? And one of the things that it talked about was, chasing short-term gratification and not really your long-term mission or your God-given mission. And one of the things that it had talked about was, basically chasing the likes, right? Like chasing that short term. And I think so many people in today's world so inauthentic because they're trying to fit this narrative of what they think they should be for all people versus just being themselves, and
Mhm.
I think that's where, you're so close with so many people that we work with in the field and in different areas, because people know on stage, off stage, behind the scenes, in front of people, what it doesn't matter. Like you're getting Steve, and that your heart is with us. Like you're a true partner versus, some. I mean, I've worked for corporate America back in my day, back in early 2000s. It was just not like that, man. At AT&T, when I was with them, I mean, you were able to talk to maybe your upline boss, and that was it. Like, don't dare go over that head. Don't dare make relationships with people, that were over. And so that's what one thing that I've always appreciated about you. I mean, you and I have had conversations on late Sunday nights. I just had questions and I needed help, and you were always there. So I always want to be appreciated. Guys, make sure you stay tuned, because we're going to talk about a lot of things during this episode, kind of going into number one, how we can start using this technology, like I said, this Prism technology that's actually measuring, it's not just what you're consuming, but what you're actually absorbing. So like, is my choices actually working? I look at this like a sonar device for inside my body. I don't know what's going on in there. Now I can actually measure and see, okay, is my supplementation, what I'm working or taking, is it actually being absorbed by my body?
Body.
Is my food choices actually working? Things like that. But also on the flip side of it, in my view, I believe this is really the opportunity to capitalize on such a unique opportunity to just help the masses. And Jesus said it best, right? How do you be great? Serve the masses, right? Serve everybody. So if you would kind of give us a little background of how we got to this point with this technology that now we're able to measure, like I said, at the tissue. So it's really not what you just took, it's what your body's actually taking in. What is it actually absorbing?
Yeah, I'd love to. When you were starting to talk about, how you talked about people from before, and you said, how would I think you said, how would the devil or something like that speak and
Right.
so forth. It reminds me of C.S. Lewis and the Screw Tape Letters. It's
Yeah, right.
if you've read that, it's really interesting to get that person. How would you tempt them? How would you get them to,
Mhm.
potentially give up? And that's really what they want. They want you to give up, whether it's in life and trying. The easiest thing to do is to be apathetic, and
Right.
to just say, well, whatever. And I know that's not your game. I see you work out, man. And I also, not just how you work out and take care of yourself personally, but how you treat other people. And that's why I'm on this podcast with you, because it's easy to spend time with people you like and appreciate and respect. And I really, really respect you and your commitment to making sure that your body is treated properly, and then showing other people how to do the same. So that's why I'm here, and that's why, for instance, we came out with the Prism. There's a lot of people. The volume of consumption of nutritional supplements over the course of since 19, for instance, since I've been in this business since 1992, the numbers are just astounding. I mean, it's gone from this, $1 million market to $1 billion market to potentially $1 trillion market in terms of growth potential. There's very few industries that have grown at the rate that, the wellness industry has. And when
Mhm.
you look at wellness as a whole, there's so many different aspects of it, as we've talked about, in terms of fitness and health and so forth. What we focused on here at New Skin, and what we've tried to make sure that we're really, really good at, is not just throwing another supplement into the ocean of supplements that are out there, because there's a million of them out there. Our difference, as we call it, the difference demonstrated is Dr. Joe Chang, who's our chief scientific officer and head of the advisory board on all things, is he says, okay, look, here's the deal. New Skin, we're not willing just to throw another product out there. We have to make sure that it's right and that it can be measured. And we say that which is measured can improve as long as you
Mhm.
take action. And so for us, the Prism started a long time ago with this concept of nutrition can do good things inside the body. How do we measure it? And how do we do it in a way that's, quote unquote, not making any claim? Because we don't want to be anywhere near claims. We don't want to make any statements that it could mitigate, cure, or prevent any type of disease. We don't go there. Where we go is just information. How do we
Right.
provide information that turns into intelligence, which then turns into wisdom?
Right.
And the wisdom actually is the most important piece. And I'll get to that in just a second. But essentially what happened is we said, okay, how can we measure where this nutrition is getting into our bodies? And of course, you can take blood serum and so forth, but nobody wants to get poked with needles, and we don't want to get into the needle game or the blood game for that matter.
Definitely.
You can take saliva, that gets kind of icky. You can do all this other stuff that's inside of our bodies, but how can we measure non-invasively? And that's where the whole question came out. And as you know, tremendous amount of people have tried to figure that out. And it goes all the way back to Nobel Prize-winning research with Dr. Raman, who actually developed a technology to actually look at the skin optically through spectroscopy and be able to look through this unique lens to say, okay, what is happening at the skin level? And can we see what nutrients are there? Well, what we found is there's this reflection that took place when you would shoot in a beam at a certain light, which specifically was a blue light that would go in, and it would bounce off of these really bright or brilliant antioxidants called carotenoids. They were orange in nature. It's what gives carrot their orange color. You know, you see peppers that are orange or red, those types of things. That is those carotenoids that are actually in there. So that's that beta carotene, if you will, but it's in a carotenoid form. And when the blue light hits the, kind of yellowish orange brilliant light, it reflects back yellow and blue, make what green. So it
Right.
comes back at a certain level of green. And as you can see, that green comes stronger or less strong, if you want to put it that way, in simplest terms. It was like, wow, you can tell how many carotenoids are in here. Now, carotenoids are used as antioxidants to help us defend our body, essentially defend the cells. Antioxidants are, inherently in our bodies already. We have an antioxidant system inside of our body. And it generates these antioxidants to pair with unpaired electrons. Those are the ones that are causing the problems inside of our bodies. So as our bodies are dealing with stress, dealing with lack of sleep, dealing with, consumption of foods that maybe aren't the best. Whether it's dealing with, even when you exercise, for heaven's sakes, you are stressing your body, and you're doing it by design. So if you do it intelligently, wisely, man, great results. But if you just hammer your body, I hear all these people always say, man, I'm going to get in shape. It's New Year's. Let's go. Type thing.
Right.
They have no clue what they're doing. They're just going to run out there and start running, or they start lifting weights and so forth. And it's just like anything, right? I mean, if you start lifting weights without the proper knowledge and understanding, then you potentially have the risk of getting hurt, and B, having bad results. And so for us, it's okay, well, what's your goal? The goal is to get healthier. Okay, where are you at now? Let's define that. And how we were able to measure that was we were starting to understand how many antioxidants we had in our body. And one way to do that, this biomarker, this carotenoid, would actually give us an indication. One indication. There's lots of ways to do it, but one indication, non-invasively. Remember, we didn't want to go after any of the fluids and so forth or be invasive in any way, that we could give real time to somebody and say, hey, generally speaking, this is how many carotenoids you have in your body, or antioxidants like carotenoids are in your body. And therefore, if they're low, then that means your body isn't producing enough of them, or you're not getting enough of them in your diet. And so you can do something about that. And typically, the assumption, if you want to put it this way, by most of the scientists, when they're doing this analysis, they said, well, okay, the assumption is if there's low levels of carotenoids, there's probably low levels of other antioxidants, which means that there's a low level of defense mechanisms within the body to prevent this free radical damage that's happening from stress and from what we eat and from the sleep and so forth that we're not getting. And so we put it to the test. And as you know, we have now almost 135 clinicals
Right.
and or papers, publications, reports that we have on our website that actually go back to this. Okay, number one, can you measure it? The answer is yes. Can you measure carotenoids? Can you measure antioxidant capacity? Yes. Number two is, can you determine whether there's a correlation between the levels of carotenoids and your general overall health and well-being as it relates to exercise and what you eat and your lifestyle activities and so forth? And there is a correlation there. So that's clear. And then, okay, now can you supplement with supplements? Can you impact and can you, if you will, up your game, if you will, from a carotenoid or antioxidant standpoint to help your body as it's trying to generate enough antioxidants, but because we're going through a world that almost feels like it's conspiring against us sometimes, based on the decisions we make, can we help it? And now we have 132 going on 135 studies that actually go back and or reflect those questions and the answers. And the answer to those questions are yes, we can. And it's important that the world knows about it because they don't. And there's really nobody else that's taken the time, the effort over the last, we have now 23 years of research that we've done on this. We have over 25 million data points. We have over 10 million people who have either scanned or scanned somebody else. So now we have all this flood of information. With the advent of AI, we were able to take all that data and basically take out all the stuff that was redundant or excessive or didn't make sense. So they call it cleaning up the data, convert it, and then provide this really relevant information to show this correlation between people who are living healthy lifestyles and their higher scores and people who are not living so healthy lifestyles and having lower scores. And now we're sharing it with the world.
Well, and I think for most people to give context of how important that data was. I mean, I think I heard one time, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like if most people are doing, if they're looking at a data set, like a really good one is like 1,000 like points of data or something like that. You know, we have tens of millions that we're able to pull off 20 years of collection, and I think that's what makes us also so unique. That's proprietary intellectual property that we've been collecting over that last 20 years to be able to get to this point. I mean, basically to create that backbone that we could build off of, because no one else has the longevity that we've had. No one else has that kind of data set that we have. You know, I look at some things and you look at some of these data sets that people try to make claims off of, and it's so small what they're trying to pull off of. And we have this enormity, you know, that we're able to pull off to really prove. And I think to your point, the biggest issue that we've had over the years, you know, with our old scanner that was about 3 pounds, you know, it was a little cumbersome. It was never an efficacy issue of what we could prove and or measure. It was an accessibility issue to most people. You know, I know you've been around the company for several decades now. I've been around for 16 years. I still run across people every day I'd never even heard of it, you know, because again, it was just an accessibility issue. And I think that's what's so important, what we can do now that we're going to be able next month really start getting this out to the public, that people can have at their home, and they can really create their own personal data set, right? They can really create this own personalization unlike anything that we've ever seen. Because we're talking before the show about the enormity of the wearable market. And the issue is that they can't solve any problems. They can just tell you of something. I know even Samsung's trying to get in the antioxidant world, but what are they going to offer as far as a solution to the problem? Right. And that's what's so unique about what we can do. We can say, okay, here's your start. Here's where you're at. And I think the beautiful part about the app that it's IO connected to, that then it goes through, you can answer questions that are very personal to yourself, and then really start optimizing the whole spectrum of your health and your well-being. So again, so you have such a better quality of life long term, you know, because I think that's all of our goals, is to be 80, 90 years old as active as we are right now, to have our cognitive ability the same as it is right now. And I know we mentioned this before the show, but I don't think most people understand how important antioxidant protection for your brain is.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I don't know if you want to elaborate a little bit on that, but like, I know for me, my dad, before he passed away, he was one boy with 4 sisters, and he watched 3 of them go down the Alzheimer road and just completely lose everything mentally. And that was one of his biggest fears getting older, of him having to go down that road. You know, and I know for a lot of people, that's it, you know, especially as we get older and all of a sudden we can't remember where our keys are. We can't remember names. We can't, you know, and it's those little things that we don't think about, but all of a sudden you're like, why am I not as sharp as I used to be? How come I can't recall this stuff? You know what I mean?
Well, our bodies naturally age, right? I mean, that's the nature of it. There's less enzyme production. There's less. I mean, our bodies are not producing the same levels as when they were younger and they were developing and so forth. And so it goes to makes a lot of sense, essentially, that, you know, as we age, there's going to be gaps. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be a lack of production of things that we used to have, you know, in full supply. Our bodies change, and over time, you know, Some will degrade faster than others. And it really, a lot of times, I know I didn't, like I told you at the very beginning, um, you know, sweets, I didn't think about what I was putting inside my body or on my body for that matter back in the day.
Right.
We're starting to get more information about what impact that has on you long term. I think our bodies are unbelievably resilient, by the way. It's amazing to see what the resiliency and the capability of our bodies to recover from what we put on or in or around them. It's amazing. I mean, you really get into the science of it and understand what's happening at the skin level, how this level of skin is so protective to us, but still allows us to have the ability to move and stretch and grow and so forth.
Right.
It's really incredible what a barrier it is. But back to your point on specifically brain function and or any of our organ function, here's the bottom line: is our body is made up of trillions of cells, and if those cells are not protected, then they potentially have a risk of being compromised. And so as a result, depending on who you are and what you were genetically given, listen, we were given certain DNA when we were given a certain you have different DNA than me, and everybody is just a little different. And so we have potential proclivity to degrade at a certain level in every single aspect of us. Why do some people live to 100 years old? And you hear these people who really didn't take care of themselves, but they made it to 100. They hit the DNA jackpot. Really, is what happened there,
Right.
and they've been very fortunate. Then you have other people who tried to stay healthy and their entire life, and then they unfortunately meet early than anticipated death. And so you're saying, well, what's the deal? Like, can I just do whatever I want? And what they're missing is those are the extremes, right? Those are
Hmm.
the extremes. The reality is you have a choice. You can't really choose your DNA. That was given to you. You can't do anything about that. In large part, you can't really choose essentially everything that's going to happen to you every single day. People are going to come into your life. Bacteria is going to come into your life. Viruses are going to come into your life. Challenges are just going to come into your life. Your body is already set up from a DNA standpoint. So things are going to happen. What you have a decision to make is how you're going to handle the things you can control. What are you going to put inside your body? How are you going to take care of your body? And what are you going to put on top of your body? So, I mean, those are the three things that you really need to focus on. Now, I'm not talking about focus to an extreme where it becomes problematic, where you're constantly worried about what you're putting in. I mean, it's healthy to take an interest. It's unhealthy to become excessive about it to the extent where you're not caring about anything else or anybody else. Just simple, everyday, if you want to call them rituals, if you want to call them habits, if you want to call them insights that you can do on a daily basis that can protect or at least extend your ability to preserve the health that you have, the DNA that you have. And so we used to talk about lifespan. When I came into this industry back in 1992, everybody was talking about extending life, extending life, extending life. And it switched over to more what we call healthspan now, because we are extending life, but how great is it if you extend life and you're going through, as you indicated, aging, and things are starting to break down on you and you're not able to enjoy life. And so people want to enjoy life. And so you can do things that can enable your body to have more health span, more of a best of your life, best you, I guess, discover the best you, as we say here at New Skin, but more effectively saying it this way: let's extend that health span as far as we possibly can by A, exercising, B, eating healthy foods, C, ensuring that the lifestyle choices of perhaps not, smoking, not consuming massive amounts of alcohol, not eating massive amounts of sugar. These types of basic things that we're seeing in all of our research that say the same things, that those things really do impact you in a significant way. But I'm not saying there's moderation in all things, right? So, but you
Right.
still just have a little bit of moderation there, and then certainly take a few minutes and throw some supplements into your life that potentially can impact it takes 1 minute in the morning
Yeah.
to put those supplements in your life or before you go to bed, and it can change everything.
Well, and I think an easy example I think most people can wrap their head around, like the
Right.
importance or the dangers of free radical damage to the body is if you look at two identical twins and one smoked and one didn't.
Right.
Right. They age completely differently. I mean, you can for sure see it on their skin, which is a great reflection of what's going on inside of our body. I mean, our skin's going to reflect. You're not going to have great skin if your nutrition is garbage. But because one decided, and again, we go back to choices. And for me, I'm a massive 100% responsibility guy. Like that's one of my pet peeves, like just freaking own it. But it's like, one person decided to smoke their whole life, one person decided not to. And again, they age completely differently because every puff of that cigarette is trillions of free radical hits that you're ingesting into your body. And again, if you don't have um, a good layer of protection over those cells. And I think, most people have the example of the apple all the time because we all know, I mean, anybody that's had kids that cut up an apple for them and they eat half of it and leave half of it, it just sits there and browns, man. Like it starts oxidizing, and I was joking with a lady last night. She was an older lady that was concerned about it. I scanned her. She scanned fairly low. And I asked her that question. I said, how do you stop that from browning? She goes, well, you put lemon juice on it, of course. I said, well, why do you do that? She goes, I don't know. I just know it works, And I said, right, you're putting that antioxidant layer of protection now over that. That's what I'm talking about with your cells, putting that layer of protection to combat against those free radical damage or oxidative stresses, because I scan athletes all the time that look phenomenal on the outside, but they scan horribly. Well, one of the problems is every time we exercise, we're causing free radical production, right? So we're doing something good for us, but there's also, again, there's balance to everything. So, I've said a million times, I truly believe that God created us in a way that if we feed our body what it needs, it'll perform like it should. And most people, they want to get in shape. And what's the first thing, I want to get in shape. The first thing they do is weigh themselves, right? They start with a measurement. And I think that's what's so important about this device that we can get into people's homes now is that people can now start with that baseline. Okay, where am I at internally? I see what I look like outside, but what do I look like internally? And then how do we get there? Because, again, I think we all know people that are aging, and just to your point, that they might be in their 80s and living life to the fullest, and there's other in their 80s that are bedridden, can barely move. Yeah, they're alive, but are they living? Are they truly living life? And I don't want to be somebody like that as I get older. I'll turn 50 next month. My goal is to be in the best shape of my life at 50. And when I hit 51, I want to be in the best shape of my life at 51,
That's
because we love traveling, we love playing, we love being active. And that's such a huge part of life, like the quality of life. So if you could, what there's a million wearables on the market, whether it's the Apple Watches, the Whoop bands, the Aura rings, the blood glucose monitors, like there's a million things people are doing now. What makes this so unique that we're going to be able to offer to the marketplace to help people optimize their health a little better?
Well, glad you asked that question. And first of all, I'm super grateful for all these amazing wearable companies that are bringing attention to health and well-being. I mean, that's fantastic. I just applaud them because the more information we can have, the better we can do. And I really believe in that. And I appreciate their free advertising, quite honestly, because people want to get healthier. They want to get better. And as you said, if they know their information, they can do more with it. So for us right now, it's if you look at it from Nu Skin standpoint, the difference is they're coming to the party a little bit late. We've been doing this now for 23 years, and we've set the gold standard in terms of how do you measure this antioxidant score, and they just simply don't have the 23 million data points that we have. And by the way, that's from over 50 markets or countries all over the world. This isn't just from a pool of people that walked into a university and they're trying to figure some things out. This is a large group of people that have been, involved in this in different environments, different climates. And this is a way to actually measure, as I said before, this biomarker that really helps understand our antioxidant score. Most of the wearables right now, as you know, they're on your wrist or they're on a ring or something like that, and those are great. I mean, again, fantastic. You get so much off that. It's going to continue to get better and better and better as it goes. The secret sauce behind this is all of the Raman spectroscopy and the database that enabled us to use the algorithm with a local university, with a group of engineers from a local university that was able to give us the specific correlation and a scoring system to be able to understand what's happening inside of our body. So when you think about it, there's three parts to it. Number one is there's this, what we call hyperspectral absorption process, which is our unique, basically our unique system of diodes that measures the amount of light, and it's through 5 independent diodes that are hitting a certain sequence of lighting. That sequence is proprietary to Nu Skin. That lighting is proprietary to Nu Skin. The lights themselves that we selected are a unique supplier that we've exclusively worked with in Japan to be able to do this. There's a whole lot of thought process behind this in terms of the way in which we are collecting that data through our hyperspectral absorption measurement. We're then taking all of those measurements, which we're getting about 800,000 in 15 seconds, in a very specific spot, which is right here, the tip of your finger, right here.
Right.
That's what you're looking at. You say, why the tip? Well, it's the furthest away. So if it's getting absorbed into your body and you can measure all the way out the tip and the difference in what's happening at the tip of your finger, then that's where you can really guess that the assumption is it's going on all over your body. Okay, so then you have this hyperspectral absorption. Number two is the Raman database that I mentioned before that is proprietary to Nu Skin. That makes it unique. So we're measuring it in a very unique way. Patent pending on that. The Raman database, which we've already talked about, that Nobel Prize-winning research that came from a long time ago that we figured out how to optimize and then combine it through our proprietary algorithm that we work with these local engineers and professors at university level, and then went out and validated it with multiple universities all over the world. And you're starting to see some of that research come out now. And what's interesting is it's turning the heads, not just of people, it's turning the heads of PhDs, doctors, people who are really interested in nutrition and wellness. And they're saying, well, wait a second, this isn't just another piece of research. This is now breakthrough research where they're actually understanding literally in 15 seconds a biomarker and a general score of your overall health that can lead to great outcomes. And it's correlated with data on diet, exercise, lifestyle, and nutrition. Wait a second, this is a big, big deal. And so you'll see this coming out, not just from you and me and from all of us, but from the scientific community, from the medical community, from all of these different groups are saying, this is different. And the one thing I want to mention, Jason, it's really important to say this, is that when you hold up that Prism, a lot of people look at it and go, I don't know how to say it without diminishing the look and appearance of it, but people think, is that toy? It can't be that amazing. Like, it's that small. It's just simple like that. Well, I would say the same thing about this. This is,
Right.
typical phone, right? And people say, it's a phone, it's a phone, it's a phone. Well, this could launch a shuttle back in the day, right? I mean, just the knowledge, the memory, the technology in here can launch a shuttle. And the amount of that we have here is the same as I don't know if you want to call it 6,000 computers that we had, say, 10 years ago or something like that. It's quite amazing what we're able to put into a small little device. So don't get confused that it's just simple and it's easy. But there is something that's really important here. And I really want to make sure this is clear because I've heard this said a lot of ways. Medical equipment, essentially, in the day, you can't just mess around with it and get these results, right? You can't. For instance, essentially, imagine this. Okay, maybe this is easier for some of the gamers that are out there. Okay, if you have a video control game and you're playing it and you hit a different button that you're supposed to hit for, I don't know, punching. I don't play video games, but I've heard this from my son, stuff like that. And if you punch or you, I don't know, set a bomb or whatever you're doing with these video games, if you hit the wrong button, you're not going to get the right result, right? But
Right.
these buttons are like literally fractions away from each other. Okay. So you hit the wrong button, you're not going to get the same outcome. Same thing is true with these devices. Don't think just because it's small and simple that you can just put your hand wherever you want it, throw it wherever you want on the body, and it's just going to work right every single time. These are tiny parts that have to work just right to be able to make sure they give you the proper test. So things like a scale, a blood pressure tester, these other medical devices may look easy to use, but inside they're very advanced machines, and they're essentially made to measure things very carefully and accurately, and sometimes down to very, very little amounts. And so doctors and nurses use these exact numbers to make good decisions about people's health. Same thing is true with Prism. This is really, really important because this is the number one question they get. Well, my score ranges. Okay, let's stop that ranging. And let me tell you how you do that. Number one, I mean, when you think about it, if you stand on a scale wrong, like if you're sitting on the tip of the scale, is it going to measure you correctly from a weight standpoint? The answer is no.
Right.
If your blood pressure cuff is too loose or too tight, it'll give you the wrong reading. Okay. So some devices need something called calibration. Calibration is like resetting or tuning a device so it stays accurate, kind of like tuning a guitar. Somebody's going to play a guitar, they're going to take two strums, they're going to say, wait, that's, I got, has the guitar itself, the quality of the guitar changed? Is the quality of the music that you can make from the guitar changed? The answer is no and no. What has changed is over time, it's kind of adjusted and so forth. And so you just have to reset or tune it. So even though these devices are precise and when they're used correctly, they can give you a very consistent score. Sometimes they need calibration to stay accurate. So that's why training, careful use, it's so important because small mistakes can create big errors. And if you get this score that's really inconsistent, recalibrate. And it's simple to do the way we set it up, and make sure that you get the correct number.
Yeah, and I think again, information's everything, and I hate the saying that knowledge is power. I think applied knowledge is power.
That's right.
Right? Like you can get your score all day long and still live a completely unhealthy life if you don't do something with the knowledge that you've given. And I think that's what's beautiful about what's set up to where. Again, I scanned an older lady last night at the gym. She scanned low. She goes, "Well, what does that mean?" And I didn't have to know the information. I showed her on the app. It said right there, this is what that means. Here's some things that you can do to help improve it. Again, some lifestyle choices. And then here's some recommendations. I didn't even have to be the supplement expert. It showed right there, okay, based on your age, some of the answers of the questions that she answered, this is kind of what's best for her, right? That's that personalization of it. And I think that's what's so, because just like you said, we're all so unique. I mean, the way God made us is so incredible that there's 8 billion people in the world and none of us have same fingerprints, for crying out loud, right? Like it's pretty amazing. Yeah. So there's not one size fits all for everybody. You can have some good broad overall, but we're all going to be a little bit different. We're all different ages, different lifestyles. And that's what you had brought this up. But that data set we had is literally a worldwide data set. It's not just people in America or just people in a small area. We've been collecting this from the world. And what I love about Nu Skin as well is that we're able then to take some of this and then throughout the world source some of the best ingredients at the right amounts from the right part of that plant to give very specific opportunities to help you increase, help you have a better, better quality of life or optimize your life in a better way. Because, being in the supplement world, I mean, hell, last time I looked, there was over 1,600 brands out there, and you and I could start one tomorrow, and throw a bunch of crap in a capsule and say, oh, this is the most amazing thing ever. And we don't have to prove anything. We can just market it. And I think sadly, I heard it said one time that most people sadly in the supplement world make their biggest two choices of what they're going to take off two things. One's price and the other's the color of the bottle, right? Like, man, they got great packaging. I think I'll just take that. It looks good. But again, when you look at, if you look at a product like green tea, phenomenal for the body, right? Has some really great stuff, but you and I, again, we could grind up a bunch of green tea leaves, throw it in a capsule and say, oh, it'll do X, Y, and Z. Most companies don't understand that the most potent part of that plant is in the tips of the plant, the tips of the leaves, and that's why we can have such efficacy with our product, is because we only use specific parts of these plants that have the highest impact to give you the result. And that's where I love when I, even from my clients, I'm like, listen, I'll tell you this, if you use this as directed, you will get the results you're looking for because of the efficacy of we pull it. And the most beautiful part about that, because I've been in the supplement world a long time, in the sports and kind of nutrition world, now I can prove it. I can actually prove it. And for years, when I used to go to whatever store, I could never walk into a place and be like, hey, I took this. I don't think it worked. They'll be like, well, prove it didn't. You know, I mean, I know you don't think it did, but prove it didn't. And the fact that now we can truly put a performance guarantee on these products saying, listen, take the 60-day challenge, get your score, get your first measurement, get that baseline, no matter how good or bad you start. You know, if you start great, great. There's always room for improvement. We can always optimize. If you start low, that's okay. It's a good starting point. But now take the challenge. And if your score doesn't improve, we'll refund 100% of your money. There is no one else out there ever. And I love the fact that we've had that guarantee for over 20 plus years. And the fact that from a business standpoint, if we knew we couldn't stand behind the products, that'd be a horrible business decision because we'd be refunding a massive amount of money. But it's pretty rare, right? That there's ever anybody that does not get their desired outcome. Again, if they use it like they're supposed to use it. And to your point, form the new habit. If you forget, put it by your toothbrush, right? You know, put that bottle right next to it. So you're doing something every day. You just remember to take literally a minute to do something that compound effect over the years of really giving your body exactly what it needs. Again, that compound effect will pay off huge benefits. And I think I'm so passionate about it because we all know that by doing that, preventative health is always cheaper than reactionary health.
Very helpful.
Right? It's always cheaper to take a supplement. I don't care if you're spending $200 a month on yourself on supplements. That's going to be cheaper than getting diagnosed with something and having to be reactionary trying to fix a problem. And then you're still going to have to go down that health road anyway. You know, because I had a friend of mine, her mom's battling cancer right now. And, you know, sadly, every single time she goes through chemo, they're like, don't ingest any antioxidants. Don't take any supplements. Don't do anything because we got to try to kill basically everything and then rebuild. I would rather just have a good foundation now that I don't have to try to wipe my body out of everything and then try to rebuild it, you know? And I think so many people, honestly, post-COVID, want to take a very proactive approach to their health because I think in two ways, COVID was a massive slap to the head for most people. Number one, on their nutrition and their health, because we saw people with a lot of comorbidities, or if they're overweight, they had a lot harder time. But also it was a financial slap to the back of their head of how they're skating that line of, you know, yeah, life's good. You know, as long as everything's perfect, I'm living okay. But when they got that disruption of their work and their finances, they realized real quick, holy crap, like this is bad. You know, like I can't, I'm making good money, but I'm spending good money. You know, I don't have any type of cushion. And so, you know, that's something I don't want to gloss over as we're talking to people. You know, the unique opportunity of this, not only to help people optimize their health, but the business side of what we're doing as well. There is a massive opportunity to help. I mean, honestly, I get paid by running my mouth about this, period. Right. I want to get this device in as many people's hands because I care about people's well-being. But also, again, if you look at it, we all, you know, our pastor always has a saying, make a living, make a life, make a difference. Right. We all have to make a living. Right. We all have to provide. But I always put a little caveat to this that I get the opportunity to make a living and make a life by making a difference in people's lives, you know? And so whether that's on a financial level or a health level, and even with New Skin on an aesthetic level, right? On every level, by just helping people make a difference in their lives, again, kind of my bottom line gets taken care of. And I think that's what's really cool about, if you look at the market size and opportunity of what we're going into, like I said, like you were kind of joked, we're a little bit late to the game, making it available for people to buy and have. But if you look at kind of the wearable market, even in the fitness space, massive space. I mean, that space alone is going to be upwards of close to 70 plus $1 billion this year alone in 2024, 2025. But then you have that broader wearable market, but also people going into real at-home diagnostics of what they're looking for. I mean, I think back 10 years, I couldn't name maybe 5 years. I couldn't name one person wearing a blood glucose monitor. I know all kind of people doing it now because they're like, okay, if I can help keep this baseline stable, my day is a lot better. I'm not going up and down and crashing and doing all this stuff. So that being able to encompass all those markets, honestly, I believe it's one of the best business opportunities on the planet right now to help get these in the field. And again, it's always just been an accessibility issue that now we're solving that problem, right? By again, I know our CEO challenged you when you really had a vision for this. He said, when it fits in your pocket, come back to me. And you made it. I carry this in my pocket all the time. Right? Like it's so simple, man. And so I think from that aspect of being able to I look at how people age, and I'll never forget a conversation I had with a lady at AT&T that was there 40 years. And because of the swing of the stock market in '08, she didn't know if she could afford to retire after 40 years of being with a multi-billion-dollar company. And that was such an eye-opener to me. Like, I need to create some type of leverage in my life to be able, because I don't want to be at the end of my career in the stock market swing and all of a sudden. And so I think there's, the business opportunity that we have currently to help improve people's lives, but also to share in the revenue of launching this amazing technology that's into the market. Because if you're watching this right now, you're literally some of the first people in the world to ever even hear about it. I honestly believe in 3 or 4 years, it'll be as common as an Apple Watch. I mean, I know we're going to be able to scale because we can actually offer people the nutritional solution to the problem that this is showing, right? And I think that's the biggest differentiator. And because of that, I think the business is going to scale like never before. You know?
Yeah, you've covered a lot of territory there in just that last segment, man. That was fantastic to hear. And I mean, you can hear your passion. I'm so glad you and I share the same passion for health and well-being. For us, this Prism is really, it's a very unique time, and you're right. The time to scale is now. There's no excuses anymore of, well, it's too big, it's too difficult, it's too complicated. It's fairly straightforward. And you just have to get a little bit of understanding of what it does, how to use it, and you're off to the races. And we have products to back it up, as you mentioned. So you covered it all, man. I don't know that we can do any more. In fact, I've got a whole team of people, of scientists and engineers who are about ready to walk into my office today, and so they're ready to roll on another couple of issues that we're working on in 2026 that we're super excited about. And so hopefully we'll be able to have another visit here in the future and talk about what we're about to talk about right now. So
Right. I guess, and just in closing, what would you give the average person, just because I know you're passionate about longevity as well and really making a difference in people's lives. So like what's some of that, what's some of the easiest, simplest thing that the average person can do today to start optimizing their longevity for long term?
it starts with mindset. It first, you have to take interest in yourself. And people say, well, that's selfish. And I say, well, do you care about anybody? And they say, well, of course I do. Okay, well, then start thinking about them because they care about you. It's right here. Just reprogram your brain to remember that the whole world, we're going to be gone in 50, whatever, 100 years. But people remember the fact that their uncle, their grandpa, their great great grandpa, how they treated people, how they talked to people, how they lived their life, and so forth. And you can't do a whole lot if you yourself aren't healthy, if you are struggling, if you are not able to do the things you need to do on a daily basis. And that can be a lot of different ways you could look at that. Health and well-being tied directly into your overall ability to support others. So take interest in yourself. It's a mindset. Number one, put yourself in a position to win. And that's by first believing in yourself. Number two is make a consistent habit, whatever that might be, whether you want to call it a ritual, whether you want to call it a habit, whether you want to call it a moment, but take one every single day. And I promise you, everybody who I've ever talked to, who I've coached, who I've shared with, who I've supported, and I've worked with a lot of people, as you can imagine, throughout my career. Um, I don't care whether you're a billionaire. I don't care whether you're a Nobel Prize-winning scientist. I don't care whether you're somebody who is out of a job. I don't care whether you're somebody who's been super successful, a major athlete. It's all the same principle. These principles are absolutely true for every single one of them. And I've watched and I've talked to and I've connected with so many different people. And there's very few things I'll say universally applies, but mindset's number one. Number two is take time for yourself and understand what you want out of life, and making sure that you make an investment in yourself by personally recognizing that you can do something different in your life. Number three is set it up, meaning put a marker in the ground. And if that's by, going to your doctor and getting kind of an examination, fine. If that's just a self-analysis where you're sitting down with a piece of paper and you say, where do I want to be? What do I want to do? Then put it on paper. Where do I want to go? Just start today. Start with one line and just says, this is something I want, whatever it is, better health. I want to have better relationships. I want to have a better attitude. Okay. Well, it starts with you. It's your mindset. The next is how I've done it and how I've seen it consistently done is, now how do you measure that? How do you measure whether you're getting to your goal? And, essentially my philosophy is very simple, is put actionable habits on a daily basis that you can take that will actually have a great outcome over time. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen day by day by day. And then the day you miss is your first day to correct it. Right. So you're going to miss. I miss on days. I miss on things that I want to do and so forth. And then I reset the very next day. You're never, never, never too late in the game to make a decision, to be consistent and to be a positive influence on the people around you. But it starts with you, and it starts with mindset, and it starts with taking individual action. As you said, 100% accountability for who you are and what you do. It's the smile you choose to have. It's the supplements that you consume to be able to offset the fact that you're not going to get all the nutrition out of your daily diet. Almost nobody does. It's that exercise in the gym or gardening or walking or reading and understanding a little bit more about yourself. But as you said, it starts with knowledge. You can get the knowledge, then converting that into intelligence, meaning taking that knowledge and converting it to something meaningful for you. And wisdom comes from those people who take that intelligence and put it into practical application and get the benefit out of it. And the people around them do as well. That's the process. And it is easier than you think. And it's a lot harder to do what you're doing without it in life. Life gets a lot better when you start putting some controls in place in your life that make it better for you and the people around you. And I say, just go for it.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. People have that weird mindset. They're willing to do everything for everybody else, but not for themselves, because they think it's somehow selfish. But, for us, taking care of my mother-in-law's in pretty bad health, and we have to take care of her a lot. If we weren't in good enough shape to be able to do that, that would be even a bigger burden if we weren't. But on the flip side, I want to be healthy because I don't want to be a burden on my kids. I don't want to have to put them through it. And so, taking care of yourself, I think people need to start switching that mindset where they love themselves as much as they love other people, and it's not selfish to make yourself, especially with your health and stuff like that, a priority, because it's that compound effect, man. I mean, it can, the law of unintended consequences, right? Like it can really expand out. Like if you don't worry about yourself, what's going to be the ripple effect of that long term? And I think you said it, man. Having that mindset, like you're worth it. You are worth it just as much as the people you're taking care of. So, Steve, I know you got to run, man. Appreciate all your time today and your wisdom. Thanks for sharing your insights with us, man. And I never take your time for granted, because I know you're a busy guy traveling the world half the time. So thank you so much. And really appreciate you sewing into the audience, man. Thank you.
Great to be with you. Take care of yourself and have a wonderful and Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, brother. Take care.